This week was the SOAR retreat for our entire organization, anybody who wanted to attend in Banff. And 2 days before the SOAR event started was a ministers' gathering, which I was in charge of the music for. Not for the whole SOAR event, but just those 2 days. So Ash and I went down there and blew them away. She did a version of Exactly that had everybody shooting out of their seats. It was amazing. And what I thought about this week and what came to me was the teaching. Because life can be hard, man. Things happen in life that just don't feel like they're any fun at all. It can feel like there's no awe in it. It can feel like, man, this is just, how do I get through this? All the time, stuff like that happens. And if it wasn't for this teaching, I don't know that I'd still be around. I don't know that I would. This teaching in many ways saved my life and was very present this week in how the week unfolded. So because we were in charge of the music, we needed to bring a bunch of stuff. So we loaded the car, one of which was a big keyboard, and got it in the car, and we decided that instead of shooting straight shot to Banff through Calgary, we'd go a little north of Red Deer. You can cut west and get into the mountains, and it's a really pretty drive. And somewhere along that really pretty drive, we got a flat tire. And the car is full of stuff. And the donut is underneath all the stuff. And for those of you who don't know what a donut is, it's that little tire they give you that they call a spare. And so what I noticed is the teaching, right? Here we got this flat tire. We're in the middle of nowhere. Turns out we're about 10K from Rocky Mountain House, right? But we didn't know that at the time. We were just on this strip of road, which just, so happened to have a turnoff where there was this grassy area that was in the shade and flat. And so instead of getting, oh no, we got a flat tire, what are we gonna do? We gotta empty the car, we gotta do this. It was just like, okay, this is what's up now. Let's see what we can do with this. And both of us were in this incredibly good space around. In the past, I can remember, because I've had flat tires before, this was not my first, where it was like a real drag. And then this time it was like, okay, the teaching. This is going to be fine. So we empty the car of everything, including that really heavy keyboard, and I pull out the donut, and I pull out the jack, and all the stuff you need, and I jack up the car, and I take off the lug nuts, and the tire won't budge. I cannot get this tire off the rim, and there's no lug nuts. So I go to the road, and I hail down a car. This huge dude comes out of it, right? And he comes over, and he can't budge that tire either. I felt so much better about myself. And they were from the town of Rocky Mountain House. So they could tell us, oh, you're only this far from it. There's this towing company there. Here's the name of the towing company. They'll come out and they'll change the tire for you. And I was like, great. So we call them up. They say it's going to take a while to get somebody to you. Ash, in the meantime, has pulled blankets out of the car. There's this nice, shady, grassy area. We lie down and take a nap. The sky is beautiful. There's clouds. We're having a great time. this isn't bad at all. This is actually fun. We get woken by the sound of the big tow truck pulling in. Really nice guy. He comes out with a board and a big hammer, gets behind the tire, and bams that thing like 5 times before finally it budges and says, yeah, this happens all the time. I'm like, I didn't know that. And he goes, by the way, you don't want the donut on the front because it's dangerous. It's much better if you put it on the back. I didn't even know that, right? And so he, for the same price as showing up, changed the tires out, right? And so now I got the donut in the back where it belongs. And then to top it all off, he goes, my machine's not working, so I'm just going to give you the car to the office. So when you get in the Rocky Mountain house, pay when you get there, and he leaves. And I thought, wow, that's a miracle, right? That's a miracle right there. And so the whole thing just unfolded, and we actually had all this fun with what might be for some a real drag in terms of a flat tire. Why? The teaching, right? Being able to be in this teaching in that way that raised, where our consciousness, our awakened state showed up just when we needed it most. Ernest Holmes tells us to abandon the truth in your hour of need is to not understand the truth. Well, here it was, hour of need. There was the truth, and it unfolded beautifully, and we hadn't even gotten to the conference yet. We get to the conference, and Ash goes to save us a place for dinner, and I park the car, and there is this, we've just arrived, is this stunning rainbow. I mean, just stunning. I got a picture of it. And so it was like, welcome to Banff. That's how it felt. It's like, this is going to be a really good time for you. Welcome to Banff. And so there we were at Banff, and I'm like flying high as a kite at this point, going, whoa, rainbow, that is so cool. Colors, man, It's always about the colors. Oh, sorry. That was a flashback to the 70s. I'm sorry. So the minister's gathering starts, and the music is great. Ash just blows him away. And then at one of the lunches, I got to have lunch with, Ash and I got to have lunch with one of my favorite people in the world, Christian Sorensen. He's a buddy of mine, and he's a huge guy in our movement. If you haven't heard of him, you want to check him out. I mean, his consciousness, his way of being in the world is a model for me. Watching him, how he moves and what he deals with in his life and how well he does it because of this teaching. And he said to me that we have this class that I love called Foundations. And we teach it every fall. And it's the one class that we can offer where it's a love offering. It's not a set price. And it has the basics of what it is we do here. For those of you that have already done it, this class coming up is the place to be. But if you've never taken a class here or need a refresher, Foundations is the thing. And Christian told me that they're not allowing it this year. They've canceled the class, the Foundations class. But they haven't come up, and they were saying, Home Office had been saying that they're going to come up with something else. And they hadn't. And so he was really surprised about that when he told me. And then, so I'm at this ministers' gathering where the council that I'm on had decided we need to keep this warm and fuzzy for everybody because it's a retreat. We don't want to get heavy with anybody. But now I have this really heavy information. And I talk to you guys all the time about the state of being, our soul's intention. When you're in an awakened state, your soul's intention is speaking to you. It's speaking to you beyond your logic, beyond what you think is okay, beyond what's possible. And from a logical point of view, a lot of times my mind is going, that doesn't sound like a good idea. But luckily, I've been doing this long enough, I've been in this teaching long enough where I'll go ahead and follow it anyway, even if it doesn't sound like a good idea. And there's my soul intention saying, you got to get up and announce this. The ministers are here. They need to know this. You need to announce this. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, it may seem weird to you that something like that would scare me, but these are all the ministers in our movement, and they're like, we want this warm and fuzzy. I got this whole ministers' council I'm on where everybody else is like, we want this warm and fuzzy, and now I've got this not so warm and fuzzy information and being nudged to announce it, to say something about this. And it wasn't easy. And you'll find that if you're in this teaching, sometimes it's not easy and uncomfortable and scary to take that next step that you're being asked by your soul's intention to take. Christian Sorensen was also, besides being my buddy, one of the speakers at the conference once it started. And he had a couple of his talk blew my socks off, as it always does. I mean, I love listening to him talk. But I think this was the best one I ever heard. He said that your mind will drive you crazy, but your soul's intention will drive you home. And so, following on that, sure enough, when we got back from lunch, I told everybody else in the council that I need to say something in the mic. So luckily, they were all like, okay, go ahead. And so I got up there and said to everybody, we have this issue now with foundations. Our basic class, their home office is saying we can't teach it. And I said, well, how are we going to be with this? What are we going to do about this? How is this going to move forward? And sure enough, there were a couple people in the audience, particularly one who said up, that I had no right to do that. And it challenged me for what I had done. And I continued to talk and continued to say, I'm not up here to make home office wrong. I'm up here to say we need to move forward. It was very hard, for me to just be up there in the face of that. But I did it. And afterwards, I was like, my heart, like, okay, I did that. And then we got back to the music and finished all that off. And sure enough, afterwards, all these people were coming up to me, some thanking me, some not so much. And somebody in power in our home office came up to me and said, we need to sit down and talk. And I said, that's great. Okay. And so this particular woman and I have butted heads on many an occasion. And now she wanted to sit down and talk. And I thought, wow, isn't this interesting how the teaching works? I take an uncomfortable step, and the next thing that happens is a possible opportunity for healing. I take an uncomfortable step, and now is an opportunity for healing. We'll see. It wasn't like I was going, oh, great, this is going to be great. I was going, I'm open. Right? We talk all the time about soften and be curious. So I was open, and so we met for breakfast. And it was incredible. Turned out that we actually agreed on almost everything. She just didn't like the way I was going about it. She felt I was being too harsh, and I could be open to that. I know that sometimes I can be too harsh. I'm not always the softest guy in the world. And not that I don't want to be, but we all have our personalities, and we all bring what we bring to life, and we do it the best we can. And part of this teaching is growing, and so I'm a lot softer than I used to be. Ask my wife. And that, I think, is what helped create the situation where we had this incredible connect and healing. The healing was so great that she felt safe enough to say to me, you could talk to this other person, the director of home office. I think he'll sit down with you and have a conversation with you. And I'll set that up for you. And so, and then I'm sitting with this other couple who are also large in our movement, and this teaching, you can tell how well the teaching's going when the guy across from me is saying something like, "I never thought in a million years I'd have this conversation with you." I go, wow, I must have really changed. And that's basically what he was saying. And so this teaching, right? Because that's what happens. It's not like everything that happens in my life is rainbows and unicorns, though it seemed that way this week. It's more like whatever's going on, however hard it might be, I'm in a space because of this teaching where I can experience it in this brand new way that allows almost every time for some healing to occur that I didn't even know was possible. I didn't even see it coming. And so I make that announcement, and I have this meeting, and then I have this meeting, and then my last meeting is with the director of our organization. We're having breakfast together. And we're talking and we're connecting to the point where he says to me, "This has been the most important meeting I've had so far." Now, it's possible he was blowing smoke up my butt. I mean, I don't know. But on the other hand, it's also possible that it was real and he meant it. I mean, he seemed sincere, and it was a great conversation, and it was a good connect. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing how there's this book that we've been passing around and talking about in leadership here called Quiet Influence. It's an incredible book. I don't remember the author's name. I remember her first name's Joyce. On how to be, when you're not the leader, still be influential. How to be with other people. And so I felt like I love that book, and I took it in and I passed it out, and our boards read it, and some other people in the community have read it. And I'm telling you now, because the more people who can read this, the more we all move into leadership in this way together. Which is what we want, right? We want to grow as people, and then for what? To go sit up on a mountain and do nothing? No, we want to grow as people so that we can then be influential in our world, because there's a lot of things going on that maybe we're not crazy about, but we could have influence in that in ways we don't even know if we don't give it a shot in terms of being uncomfortable once in a while, right? You don't even know, I didn't even know what kind of influence I could have on this whole thing until the director saying to me, "I'm going to see what I can do to take care of this, so you got a foundations class in the fall." And I didn't know that all that was going to come of it. Won't know what's possible to come of it if you're unwilling to step into what might be uncomfortable. And the beauty of this teaching is it has taught me how to step into being uncomfortable in a good way. I mean, it took a lot of years of practice. We teach this, but then you need to practice it. I think you've heard me say that I have gotten calls from people who have studied the science of mind for 25 years and complaining about how their lives didn't get any better. And I said, "Did you practice?" Right? And that's why class is better than just sitting at home reading a book, because then you're surrounded by other people who are practicing too. Now, I know I harp on this a lot, but I harp on it because my life keeps growing in a way that amazes me, that leaves me in a place of awe, and I want that for each of you too, right? And I don't know what else to talk to you about except that this is what happened this week. It was extraordinary. It could have turned out in an entirely different way, but it didn't, and I believe it had to do with this teaching. this teaching, this amazing teaching that we are more. We are so much more than we think we are. That we have the ability to influence life in ways. I think, personally, that transformation is the most underrated power on the planet. That people keep thinking that they have to do stuff because they don't know. Unless you've had the experience, unless you've actually had the experience of through transformation, watching out here change simply because of you transforming, how would you know? How would you even know that that's possible? But once you do have it, I just want more and more of that. God, if it's all I got to do to impact out here is to keep changing in here, what gets easier? Well, it's not easy. But I mean, it's not easy, okay. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't have to go out here and I didn't have to, get that tire off. I mean, that's life. All these things are happening around us all the time in our lives, and we don't see them unless we're looking for it. If you're not looking for the miracle, it could be happening right next to you and you miss it. What we teach here is how to see it. What I've learned is how to see it, how to actually walk into a situation. I mean, my expectation in life, my actual expectation is that I am going to experience awe in the most mundane. Like a flat tire. I get to experience awe in that. I mean, it's crazy. And you go, well, that's a flat tire. That's not something really major. Well, I've told you guys a story about being in the hospital, being told today was my last day on earth. And I experienced tremendous awe that day. So life and death, yeah, it works there too. It works in the hardest of times. It works in the easiest of times. But to abandon the truth in our hour of need is to not understand the truth. This is the power. This is what's possible. This is what this teaching does. It deepens us. It deepens us. I continue to deepen in ways. Christian Sorensen in his talk, he was sharing about how we're at multiple layers of consciousness all the time. Which one are we focusing on? Right? Are we, you have access. All of us have access to this power and presence of the awe at every single moment. But we get distracted so easily by the mundane of what's going on right in front of us. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have attention on that. If there's a bus coming at you, step out of the way. So it's not like that, but it is that, that was an example I heard a Zen master say, is that if a bus is coming down on me and I can step out of the way, I'm going to. But if I can't, then I'm going to make sure that I experience fully what the impact. Life has that. We have impact on life. Life has impact on us. But what we do with that energy, energetically, which level we are viewing it at, makes all the difference in how we experience it, how we feel it. Are we upset? Are we in joy? Or are we just present, fully present? I love it, being fully present. And sometimes and I let my emotions do what they do because the emotional plane exists, but I don't have to focus on it and make it important. I get to pick, you get to pick which level of presence you want to put your attention on. Because what we focus on, we give power to. What we focus on, we give power to. And then that becomes more solid and real, simply because we focused on it. So that's what's possible here, is to go, right now my attention is on, how bad I feel about what just happened. Okay, that exists. I'm not saying be in denial about it, but you're being When you are focused on one thing, you are in denial of all the other things going on. So in a way, we're all in denial all the time anyway, unless we can open to it all. If we think this is what's important and we're focused on it, it's not like there isn't all these other things going on inside us and around us at that exact same moment. This is just the point we picked that we're calling important. But you get to decide that. I heard a doctor talk once about two patients. They both had Parkinson's. They were both extraordinary keyboard players. They were both women. They were both about the same age, and they both contracted Parkinson's around the same time. And each week, this doctor would meet with his patients, or once a month, or whatever it was. I don't remember how often, but it was regular that they met. And every time, the one would come in and say, "This is great. This is what I can still do. This is what I'm still able to accomplish. This is what I'm still going, this is how I'm still able to do this and this and this." And the other one would come in and say, "I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore." And what he said is the one who kept walking in going, "This is what I can still do," was doing way better physically than the one who kept saying, "This is what I can't do." Now, that could sound as simple as glass half full, glass half empty. And maybe it is. I don't know. All I know is that we get to choose. And that's what we teach here, that you actually get to choose where you put your attention so that your life gets better. So that whatever it is you're dealing with, it actually is the most optimum it can be. We had an optimal experience around a flat tire. We didn't have not a flat tire. Flat tires still happened. But we had an optimal experience around it that allowed us to enjoy ourselves and have a really good time in the midst of, what for most folks is just a pain in the butt. But it's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to us. And this teaching is what has grounded in me so deeply through all the years and continues to, so that I get to have experiences like that instead of the kind I used to have. I've had flat tires before. They didn't feel anywhere near as good as this one did. That's what's possible. And the rainbow at the end of the tunnel. It was cool. So that's why I harp on the teaching. That's why I'm here today to say, please sign up for this class. It really will make a difference in your life. This is how we ingrain in ourselves that which, so that when those things happen, we don't forget in our hour of need the power and presence of what's possible. So that to abandon the truth in your hour of need is to not understand the truth. When it gets scary and uncomfortable, did I give this quote already? It's a T.S. Eliot quote. I got this from Christian Sorensen too. I love this. He said, only those who risk going too far ever get to experience how far they can go. There is a way of being with this teaching and noticing these other planes of existence that are far beyond where most people are even willing to go. But if you don't risk taking the chance, if you don't risk being uncomfortable, if you don't risk being forward, you'll never know how far you can go. And I promise you, it's far. It's really far. Thank you. I love you very much.